Hey boys and girls, I wanted to make a teaching video for perimeter and I'll make a separate one for area, but we talked about perimeter and the definition is the distance around a closed geometric figure. Now in 4th grade you could have a perimeter of any type of shape, but they really look closely at rectangles and squares because they want us to understand the formulas. So I'm going to show you where these formulas come from. So the first thing that you notice is I have a rectangle here. Now, if it's the distance around, we understand that the perimeter equals the length plus the width plus the length plus the width. If it's a rectangle or even a square, because squares are all rectangles. So that's where your first formula came from. And how you would work this out is we work down in math, so P stands for perimeter, P comes down, the equal sign. You're just rewriting this formula. Formulas are just your roadmap to tell you how to get the answer. So if I do this, length plus the width plus length plus the width, I will know what the perimeter is and that will be the answer. Well, a rectangle, opposite sides are equal, and we know that, so that this is 8 inches plus 5 inches plus 8 inches plus 5 inches. So then all I would need to do is add this up. This would be 13, P equals 13 inches. And we work down because later on in math you will learn to work all your formulas down and even up through algebra. And 13 inches. So it's just good to get used to it and then to keep labeling what you're doing. So P is equal to 13 plus 13 is 26 inches. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 26 inches. Now, we do have another formula that we have to know how to fill in and to use. And this formula is P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Now, we have learned in class that if a letter and a variable are side by side or anything next to a parentheses, side by side tells us to multiply. Okay, so I am going to actually change this paper out so that I'll have a little bit more room to show you the different formula. And I'll rewrite it up here for you. P is equal 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And I'll show you in a minute where this can be found on your math chart. You don't have to memorize this, you just have to know how to use it and how to plug numbers in. L represents the length of the figure, we've talked about that. W represents the width. Side by side says to multiply. We work down, we want to know the perimeter is equal to, this means 2 times the length. So 2, the length is 8. So in place, I'm going to put an 8. But I just can't put an 8 like this or it looks like 28. Anytime I replace a variable or a letter, it's basically an unknown, I have to put that in parentheses. And we've talked about that. Plus, now all I'm doing is looking at this formula now. 2, I know I'm going to have to replace next to it the width. The width of this rectangle, which I'm trying to find the perimeter of, is 5. Now I have work that this is telling me to do. I don't have to look up here anymore. I can just continue to work down and find the perimeter. 8 times 2 is 16, and I do like to put the units, it's inches, plus 5 times 2. So I'm just working what it's telling me to do. Side by side says to multiply, that's 10 inches. And so my perimeter is equal to 26 inches because I'm going to add up the 16 and the 10. Okay. Now let's look at the perimeter of a square. Once again, the perimeter of a square, we know perimeter is add up all the sides. Remember the little chant I taught you? Perimeter, perimeter, add up all the sides. Area, area, find the space inside. So on our math chart, the perimeter of a square is P equals 4S. Well, where did this come from? Well, let me show you over here. The perimeter is equal to, S stands for the side of the figure, and we know all the sides are the same. So a side plus a side plus a side plus a side. And how many sides are there? There are 4 sides. So instead of taking side plus side plus side plus side, repeated addition, we could say 4 sides. And that's where this formula came from. Now we know the perimeter of the square is 4 inches. So in place of side, I just have to put in that side length up here. So perimeter is equal to 4. Oh, I'm back to a variable again. I have to put that in parentheses, and it's 4 inches. Now, so the perimeter is equal to 16 inches. And with this one, you can check. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16. So here's how you find perimeter of a square using the formulas and working them down. Now something else I also did was I tried to write down all the words that they could use in a word problem that maybe either mean perimeter or are telling you they're talking about perimeter. The brim of something, the trim, hem. We've had story problems with fencing. They're talking about perimeter here. Border, rim, boundary, the baseboard, and framing. Think of framing like on a picture. Of course, there is much more words that probably mean perimeter, but these are the ones that I've commonly seen in our math problems. You all have a math reference chart. They will give you a piece of paper with this on here on your test, and it's something for you to use. It basically, I like to call it a cheat sheet. Here's your perimeter of your square. P equals 4S, so you don't have to have that memorized. And your perimeter of rectangles, it has both P equals length plus the width plus length plus the width, or P equals 2L plus 2W. So there's a little mini lesson on perimeter to help you find it and work it out. For rectangles and squares, you use formula. If it's not a rectangle or a square, you just add up all the sides.